On this episode of the Addictive Conversations, episode number 2, went to visit my good friend Ivan Gorman. Ivan is a bike fitting extraordinaire. He is the best of the best. He works with all kinds of professional cyclists and triathletes, you know, riders that done the Tour de France, all the way to professional triathletes who have won all kinds of championships. We talked about his journey to becoming the best in his field. And not only that, Ivan is a very competitive age group triathlete. He's done the Hawaiian Ironman championships like 7 or 8 times, and you have to qualify to go to these races. So very competitive guy. We talk more about his training, his mental preparation as well. And honestly, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk with him is just I really enjoy being around him every time I see him, which is funny because I think I've seen him in person only 3 or 4 times, really. But he's just a great guy. You feel welcome every time that you see him or every time that you visit his studio. So I hope that you guys like this second episode of the Addictive Conversations.
What's happening, everybody? Hugo here. Super excited to be here with a good friend, Ivan Gorman here. Thank you very much for being on the second edition of the Addictive Conversations. I'm pumped. Ivan, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I think you're embellishing a little too much now on how great I am or how nice I am. You know, I don't want your viewers to find out about the real Ivan, but I'll take it for now.
Awesome. By the way, he just made this awesome coffee, so I'm really pumped. Thanks again.
Yeah, that'll get you going. Yeah,
this is like my 3rd cup, but you can never have enough coffee.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right, I got my questions. You know, I'm no pressure.
Sure.
So let's just, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, you're from Ireland, but we'd love to learn more about, where you come from, where you grew up.
Sure. I'm Irish. I'm from Limerick in Ireland. That's on the west coast, and we got the famous River Shannon running through it. It's a medieval castle kind of town, steeped in sport, steeped in agriculture, lots of history, good people. And I grew up on a farm there, had a wonderful childhood, was involved in so many sports, had hard-working parents that kind of gave us every opportunity you could want. My first love was riding ponies. I was on ponies and horses since I was probably 3. And, funny fact is I show jumped for Ireland, so we did a lot of show jumping and right throughout, like most of my teenage years, it was show jumping and riding ponies, very competitive, and that is a whole different world. We used to prepare a lot of young horses, bring them on and sell them, so that was good. Got to wear the green, white and gold show jumping, and then I raced bikes as a young fella, Rally Banana and other classic racing bikes that we would have had. There was a BMX track not too far from us, so it was a lot of great things, and I played a lot of rugby. Ireland's known for rugby, and played a lot of rugby. I was fortunate again to represent my country playing rugby. So,
what? I didn't know that.
That was awesome. Like 4 years of very good rugby.
That's amazing.
But then, wasn't good enough to go professional. But that was probably about 16 to 20. And I represented my province and then represented my country and got to play in a couple of amazing stadiums around the world. So that was a great thing. So that was kind of my childhood, and then I suppose more most recent kind of chapter in life is Colorado, and came over to Colorado and worked with a great company, Retool, for several years. They really gave me all the start that I could want in the world of endurance sports. I studied biomechanics. I studied everything I could with regard to bike fitting, and Retool were the best in the game. Arguably still are the best in the game in motion capture for cycling. So I came over what I thought was 6 months to 12 months through an introduction that I got to work with them. My wife took 6 months off work. We packed up 2 bags, came over to Colorado, and 7 years later we're still here.
That's awesome, because I was going to ask you what brought you to the U.S. So it was just going to be initially a few months?
Absolutely. You know, a mecca like Boulder, you know, will specialize in certain things, you know, whether it's good coffee or food or, you know, sports, you know, it tends to be at the leading edge of a lot of different industries. So these guys were a startup company, but doing something that was pretty revolutionary within cycling and doing it at a relatively affordable level. What was, you know, lab grade and you know, medical grade equipment they had brought to the market for under 20,000. So it was very appealing to me to look at this niche and work with this company. And I think originally the plan was to go back to Ireland with a very good knowledge base under my belt, and then bring that kind of service to the people of Ireland. Because, you know, at that point there was actually no Retool systems or motion capture systems. Bike Fit was unheard of in Ireland. So, but I guess, you know, I have a good work ethic, and Boulder's not hard to fall in love with, and I worked hard, they saw that, and we formed a great alliance right up until I suppose late 2015, 2016. So, and I still have an excellent relationship with Retool. They've been bought by Specialized, and that moved in a different direction. But I suppose that's what opened up my next direction, which is where we are right now, a Bike Fit studio here in Boulder.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you some images in a minute. But yeah, it's beautiful. Gosh, this studio is amazing. I love it. So you were the part of the early days of Retool, huh?
Yeah, you know, they started in 2007. I wasn't anything to do with the foundation of it. But I guess in developing some of the equipment that they came out with, you know, the bike fitters in Retool, Todd Carver was one of the founders. He's sports science guy from CU. And yeah, through the work that Todd would do and that I would do, we would figure out like what kind of equipment we needed that could like improve the, you know, the outcomes of bike fits. So whether it was fit bikes and you know, other equipment that we had, and then also the education of bike fit. So yeah, you know, I spent a lot of great years there, and you know, they would probably say that I was a great servant to them, and I would say that they were great kind of mentors to me, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. Like having, I guess, my previous life, you know, having a background in all things marketing, I've always thought of Retool as one of those brands that, like, wow, they did, you know, they figured out a really great way to find a solution to the customer's need, and they found a great way to position themselves as, you know, I mean, now, you know, Retool is like, I think it's even a generic word, like, it's like Google, right? Did you Google it? Like, I don't know, sometimes like people even talk about that, and that's awesome. I remember the first time I got my bike fitted with Retool. I used to live in Arkansas, and I drove like 2 hours to go to Little Rock to get my bike fitted, and then it was much fun. Awesome.
Yeah, you know, there's a guy, Cliff Sims, there, has to take a lot of credit. He was the original creator of Retool, and Cliff knocked around, you know, Las Vegas at Interbike for 2 seasons in a row, and nobody was willing to entertain him. And he spoke to some other pretty high profile people in the cycling industry saying, look, this is what we have, this is what we can do. And they said, like, no chance, this isn't going to fly. So it just shows the perseverance that Cliff had. And, you know, they did it on a shoestring budget. These were not wealthy guys. These were not guys that had financial investors. You know, Franco Vatterott, which was one of the sales and marketing guys who founded the company with them, he drove the first system half the way across the country to collect the money in cash, you know.
That's awesome.
Their first sale. So that was the thing, like, and you know, they didn't take salaries, and they really like put themselves out on a limb to try and get that company to succeed. So when they eventually sold to Specialized, it was, you know, a due reward that they deserved for a lot of hard work.
Good job, Franco. Franco's a friend. So
yeah, exactly.
I actually met with him the other day, so we always catch up like once in a while.
When you can catch him. Not an easy guy to track down.
I know, right? Like, I hear you about, like, yeah, it's always nice to Franco, you're next.
Yeah.
So your journey to Ironman.
Yeah, even getting into triathlon, you know, I was never a swimmer. People in Ireland, like, they're not known for their swimming.
No way.
Because even though you're the country surrounded by water, it's the Atlantic. It's for fishing. It's not for swimming, you know. So I certainly grew up in a house that we didn't do a lot of swimming. We lived a little inland from the coast, and there wasn't access to a lot of pools, so swimming was something I never really did. Getting into Ironman, that's not so good when you can't swim. But I was at a bachelor party and I went off the back of a boat, and I was relatively sober at the time, and I nearly drowned. It was a pretty horrific experience.
Holy crap.
And I'd say later that year, I just said, right, that's it. I'm not going to let that happen again. And I started to learn how to swim in with 5 and 6 year olds and stuff at a local pool. So I got swimming, and look, I got to a certain level quick enough to do my first triathlon, and I reckon I was about the second last person out of the water, and person behind me was probably, I don't know, limbless or something, definitely a lot more challenging than I was. But look, I got out of the water, and then I was always pretty good on the bike and pretty good to run, so triathlon appealed to me. But the swimming was daunting, and to this day, like I've completed a lot of races, and I still don't really enjoy swimming. I call it like transport to the start,
Oh yeah, I hear yeah. And so and then you started doing, did you like first start with half Ironmans and then went full?
I did some sprint stuff and Olympic stuff, and then graduated into like half distance and Ironman distance. I haven't played rugby and haven't played hurling and football, which are the kind of traditional sports in Ireland. I always had good running legs, so I had ran a couple of marathons. I knew what that entailed, so I think it always was in my vision to try and go long distance, because being a terrible swimmer, it means that you've got more course to catch them down. Like if you're not a good swimmer and you're doing the short distance stuff, the race is over. You don't have enough course to catch them, no matter how good a biker and runner you are. So the long distance stuff appealed to me, and that's where
I mean, it's interesting that you said that, because the same thing with me. Like, I've never considered myself, I mean, unlike you, I'm not a fast like anything, but there's something about long distance that, like, I used to be trained by Tony the Boom, and he would call me, you're a diesel machine.
Sure.
You can keep going all day long, but do you like long distance because of, like, the fact that you have to be out there several hours, the grind? I mean,
well, it's a challenge. Like, I think people that get into Ironman first, it's kind of a bucket list, isn't it? It's kind of, do you think I could do it? And that gets people's minds kind of, the wheels turning in their minds as to, could I do a race of that distance? And it is an ultimate challenge. Like, I suppose living in Boulder, like, we've got a skewed kind of opinion of racing, because we're surrounded like all these excellent athletes, and they make nothing of, like, going to world championships, and if you're not podium at world championships, there's kind of something wrong with you. The standard is so high in Boulder. But, like, you might go home to Lima, or I might go home to Limerick, and people will say, you've competed at Kona, and it's like, tell us about it. Like, they're kind of like blown away, I would say that it always appealed to me, the long distance stuff. Cool. and the training, that goes with long distance triathlon is very demanding on time, I think, more so than effort in certain ways. You referred to diesel. I think, like, endurance sports at a controlled effort, you can kind of do all day. It's like, it's not too taxing on the body. Yes, like, the overall fatigue builds up and can wear you down, but while you're in the sessions and doing the sessions, they're probably not too difficult.
Awesome. Ivan has been to Kona not only once, but 5 times. So that means that you've had to qualify.
Seven.
Oh my God, what? So your website, it's outdated then.
Website's probably outdated. It's a little like myself.
7, oh my God. So that means that you've had to qualify 7 times. So tell me about that very first race that, made you qualify for your very first Kona. Like, how was your training? How was the whole experience to, knowing that you made it, the first time?
Yeah, qualifying for Kona, it's a challenge for sure. I guess, look, I'm lucky that I have some pretty good genetics, and I've got, I've always been like, what we'd say in Ireland is hardy, like tough. And I think toughness is good. I think mental toughness is important. And you have to have, like, the chassis and the engine to at least give you a chance of qualifying. So, you look at your age group and you think, right, I got to go 9:30, I got to go 10, I got to go under 9, I got to go 10:30, whatever. You look at your age group and you decide, like, okay, if I break that down, can I do the times individually? Can I train to do those times, and then can I put it all together? So there has to be a realistic approach to qualifying for Kona. Like, you can't, let's say if it comes down to running a 3:30 marathon and the fastest you've ever ran is 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen on the day, so
Right.
a little bit of reality, and that's not to deter people from trying to achieve their goals and dreams. But I didn't get just say lucky and land into the first race and qualified for Kona. I'm not that talented, I had to plan it, and I had to try and train at the demands of competition for what would give me a chance to qualify. And I went in there on the day, as I do for most races, not thinking beyond what I'm doing in that kind of given minute. And if you get a bit of lady luck and things go right in the day and you can have an excellent performance, well, then the time will be the time, and you hope that will be good enough.
How long did it take you to from the time you decided, okay, I'm gonna make it my goal to try to qualify, until you qualified?
Yeah, probably 1 to 2 seasons. Like one season where doing Ironman was putting a toe in the water, and the only goal was to complete and get it finished, and I did that. And then that was the one Ironman that I did that year. And then the next year I was like, that went pretty good. If I could go like 30 or 40 minutes faster, I might have a chance of qualifying for World Championships. So then I entered an Ironman to try and give myself a chance of qualifying that year. And first one didn't work out, actually, and then that was a May race, and then I was here in the United States, and I went to a June or July race and qualified on that one, and then went to Kona. So
I like that, the fact that you reverse engineer, from the ultimate goal, or the goal, okay, I need to make this time, and then you start thinking, okay, this is how much time I need to, it needs to take me to finish the swim, bike, and run. So I like it. I like the approach a lot. One of the things that I'm just trying to focus on this year personally is to regain discipline. Like, I used to think, okay, I want to feel motivated, I want to be motivated. But one day I thought, you know what? Like, motivation, you're not always going to have it. So you need to be disciplined. So tell me more about, like, especially, for when you get ready to qualify for Kona, or like when you do Kona, tell me more about your discipline philosophy. You have any kind of rituals or any kind of routine? Love to learn more about it.
Yeah, like discipline, sure, you're constantly evolving, like with discipline and work-life balance and routine, and I suppose motivation, isn't it? Like, it comes down to motivation. If you are motivated, you can be disciplined. Like, if you're not very motivated, like, you're probably not going to be disciplined. So I think for me, like, the motivation it comes from wanting to give it an honest crack. I was always rare to kind of like give it your best shot. Don't half-ass it. If you're going to do it well. Yeah. And I think when I pretty much approach most things in life with that kind of mentality, it means that, look, as a dad and a couple of kids and a beautiful wife and a business to run, and all the responsibility falling on myself, you become very self-motivated.
Right.
So that motivation means that if I apportion a lot of time or whatever time to racing and to my hobby, that I can't squander that time, So for me, like, if I get up at 5 a.m. and I want to be back at 7:30, I don't have 20 minutes to be faffing around in the hot tub and doing a half session, and like, I'm either doing quality or I'm wasting not alone my own time, my family's time.
Yeah.
So I think time is a very precious thing, and that's the thing that drives me, that, look, if I'm going to say I'm going to race Ironman and I want to race it well, and I allocate 15 or 20 hours a week to it, I better do that right,
Right.
So I think time is the motivator, and that forces the discipline for me.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah, I will tell you about the first year I tried to qualify for Kona. I went to St. George, and it was the second year they had the Ironman distance there. got some crazy weather pattern came in.
know.
The waves on a lake of all things were like 3-4 foot waves, and it was a pretty crazy storm. So they fished out over half the people out of the water. It was probably the biggest like DNF rate in a race, and subsequently they've reduced St. George to a 70.3. But that was the year that I got fished out of the water twice. I actually was on the side of a boat hanging onto it, and I went to try and complete the swim, and then I got into some serious bother. So that again, like don't let it deter you. Like, you know, there was my first Ironman qualification attempt, and I didn't even finish the swim, you know. So I had to kind of pick it up again and not let it break me, and probably even made me more determined in my resolve. And I went up to Coeur d'Alene later that year. Yeah. It's a cold swim, but a very straightforward swim, and did the business. So again, like it's never plain sailing for anybody, and I'd be the same. So keep chiseling away if it doesn't work in the first attempt. Okay,
swim. You were saying that your least favorite part of the race. Mine too. Actually, Ironman Boulder. We were talking about me DNFing, but I had a relatively good swim. The funny thing is that like I got anxious at the very beginning. Like I was just feeling super strong, and then I got into the water, and then I just wanted to quit. Like, have you kind of dealt with those kinds of things, like, you know, like where you like get a little like?
I think you gotta like it's easy for me to say like block it out, isn't it? But I guess you know, I've had a lot of challenges in life from either sport, and it's comfort zone stuff, and it's like, you know, exposing yourself to like threat and exposing yourself to you know, fear, and I guess with the swimming for me, yeah, like I could say like it'd be easy enough for me to panic. I swim pretty tense, pretty not relaxed, you know, so I am mindful of that. I guess, you know, get yourself into you know, different environments for swimming. Swim open water, get in with groups, do swim races, you know, do things that really kind of challenge you, and then manage those little hurdles. And then when it comes to race day, it's pretty raw. Like race morning is like raw. It's like you're anxious, you're excited. It's all these emotions. Like of 365 days of the year, how many days do you have deal with those emotions? Pressure, you know, stress, anxiety, excitement, adrenaline, like very few. So to try and get ready for like big race days like that, put yourself out of your comfort zone and race and enter events that you don't want to do, and enter events or do challenges that you know you're not happy about. And it doesn't always have to be a start line. It doesn't always have to be, you know, an event, because that can be expensive obviously to try and do all these things. But like, if you're a poor swimmer and you know some good swimmers and you want to challenge yourself to swim point to point, you know, well, do it and get out there and try and make it happen. And then if you can achieve those little victories, then when it comes to race day, you can look back at those swims and you can say like, yeah, I swam 5K from one end of Carter Lake to the other end of Carter Lake with one person on a paddleboard beside me, and it was brutal, but somehow I got my mind to focus enough to get me that 5K, and you can draw on those strengths.
I've never done that. So it's 5K end to end, Carter Lake?
Something like that, yeah. Okay. You know, so there's things, but again, if you're back in Ireland or you're wherever you are, like, just find something that will challenge you, and you can use that strength on race day.
Do you have any particular goals for 2018? Like, I mean, racing, training, like in life? This is like a very philosophical question.
Yeah, isn't it? Like, look, all my goals are surrounded or founded from my family. You know, it's like I'm an old dog now, so like with young kids and a wife, you can have a little element of selfishness, but it goes on the back end. For me, like, it's family and it's work and it's racing, and it's in that order. And my 2018 goals are probably like a lot of people's, and the goals are one thing, it's like executing them are the other, you know. So for me, like, my first goal would be to kind of execute things a little better than I did in 17. So just be a bit more applied, be a bit more, you know, demanding of myself to how I do things, and obviously I'm applying that to my family, to my work, and to my own kind of training. So awesome. Look, family goals, I want us all to be healthy and happy and just enjoy every day. You never know when it's taken away from you.
Yeah.
Work goals, learn something new, challenge myself with new, knowledge and education, and see where I can try and improve on what I do. Have fun doing it, and see what that'll bring me. And then racing goals would be, I've qualified for Kona again, so here comes number 8. I qualified in out of Arizona at the back end of this season, and in 2017 my racing goals very much went to the back, and I accepted that. That was no problem. I had qualified for Kona, but I really didn't start training until about 10 weeks before it. And I gave my entire year to creating this business that I have here. Well, at least opening a brick and mortar. My wife was working with a company in Ireland. They were over and back to Ireland. We tried to juggle that, where she was living with the kids in Ireland for half the year. It was a hectic year, and listen, I have to give kudos to her for how she keeps us all going as well. She kept a career going, and was raising kids and was putting up with my bullshit, and now we're all back in Colorado for 18. We don't have any juggling like that to do, so definitely there's a lot less demands on our time than trying to juggle half of us in Ireland and half of us here in Colorado. Like, for me, I think you asked about discipline. I think with a goal and with a race on a schedule, it forces you to be a bit more mindful of your time, and then you become a little bit more disciplined, and you can't kick it down the road. You got to decide, I kind of got to get going now. So I have a very patient coach in Julie Dibbins. She's based here in Boulder.
Cool.
Julie has helped me for several years, and she gets the kind of juggling that I do with. Like, I spend 120 to 150 days a year in the road.
Yeah.
I travel all over the world, and then I want quality time with my family when I'm here. So she gets that there are certain times when I can allocate time to training, and certain times that I can't. But with her help, she holds me accountable, and we're going to try and focus on not letting it slide quite as much this year, trying to be a bit more even keel when it comes to training, and that way then the mountain that you're trying to climb may not be as hard when it comes to really focusing on a race. So I'll be sitting down with Julie probably this week, and I need to get a year planner. I need to put the big items on that year planner, and then I need to start filling in the smaller bits.
So what about bucket list races? Like any particular race that you were thinking?
I'm going to try and enter Ironman Frankfurt, which is in July, and it's a European Championships. It's just in the city. It's pretty electric. I'd love to do that, and then that will be a great mid-season race for me to see where I am, and it will give me another, I suppose, 10 or 12 weeks into Hawaii. So let's say for now, hopefully Ironman Frankfurt, and then race Hawaii in October.
Nice. When you do these big races, how do you mentally prepare for them, especially the days before? I don't know, we'll deal with this differently. Do you meditate, or do you have a particular playlist, or I don't know? How do you do it?
I don't. I guess my coach would say to me, get some time for yourself, try and think about the race, how it would unfold, how it might play out. My coach gets me with regard to, guess what motivates me. So she'll say, think about why you're doing it, what's important to you, and that stuff then will get the hairs rising on the back of your neck, So I think for most people, figure out, this would be my humble advice or opinion, figure out why you're doing it and what really motivates you, and what might work for Conor McGregor or anybody else is not going to work for you, So figure out why you're doing it, and just give yourself that reality check. And look, if it means writing it down, that's very popular, and it holds you very accountable, the same as you'd write goals and what motivates you. Write them down and remind yourself of them, but one way or the other, don't overcomplicate it. Pick 3 reasons, why am I doing this, and look at those 3 reasons and just focus on those, and they're the 3 reasons that should motivate you on the day,
I have a little cork board in my office, and I have some of the different goals that I want to do, and like you know, I kind of look at it every day. So that's kind of how.
I'll tell you, like the challenging thing about goals is, firstly, you've got to be brave enough to write them down, you know, and like, I wouldn't say I'm the best at that now. I'm pretty focused with regard to what I'd like to do, whether it's work or life or family or sport. And I think when it gets in my head what I want to do, the seed is there. Yeah. I don't really need to like write it down, but I have found in the past when I've written things down and I've come back to reflect on them, they have actually kind of materialized, you know. And so whatever it is, switch that you need, try writing it down, try visualizing it, but get something that cuts pretty close to the bone, you know? Because if it cuts close to the bone, you're not going to forget it, you know. That's so true. Don't take some tagline from somebody else, or don't take something that's worked for somebody else. Figure out like what makes an impact for you, whether that's like, you know, love, anger, you know, aggression, something that really like fires you up. Right. And then like, if that's kind of the basis of your motivation, I think it, you know, it'll always be ingrained in you.
I'm just curious, and this is a very technical question, but you're in the middle of, you know, a really, really hard, you know, race right now. How, like, I'm just curious, like, how do you, I mean, what are the things that you usually think when you're digging deep, like, you know,
Digging deep, well, you know, digging deep and being smart, it's a combination, isn't it? I would say like that a lot of people aren't like tough enough when it comes to like, you know, just grafting it out. Like, take a look around and see, kind of like, we're talking about sport here, no one's going to like, you know, lose a limb or die or whatever, God forbid. But like, you know, think of it like that, like, you know, you can harden up, you can be tough, you can dig deep, and a lot of that toughness you have to practice, you know. So it goes back to the motivators again, you know. It's like, why are you doing it? Like, sometimes people dig deep because they don't want to let somebody down. Yeah. Sometimes like people dig deep fear, you know what I mean? True. Listen, I raced recently in Arizona and I dug deep because I was afraid of humiliating myself. Yeah. You know, it's like I hadn't trained properly for the race. I snuck in the back door. I'm on a start line, and I'm like, oh my God, I shouldn't be here.
It's so funny. You just reminded me of. So I did a 50K trail run 3 months ago, and it was like 2 laps. And so I just finished the first lap, and I was just mentally like done. Like, I was like, okay. My wife was with me, and I was already thinking, this is gonna happen. I'm gonna tell her that, you know, I'm not gonna finish it. So finish the first lap, talk to her and say, hey, you know, this is gonna happen. It's just like, you have 2 minutes to leave the aid station. So she didn't even give me any, and I love that she did that, because like that kind of tough love that sometimes you need. And yeah, I had to dig deep really that second lap, but it was not as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah, no, digging deep and making smart decisions, they're not to be kind of mixed up, because I think in Ironman racing, like, things are going to change, you know, on the day. And there's a coach in Denmark called Frank Jacobsen, works with Sansigo. That's all part of Croy's entourage. And you know, he said to me at a race about 4 years ago, he said, tomorrow, just make 2 smart decisions and you'll have a good day. That's all he said. And he didn't like say that's going to be on the bike, or it's going to be about pacing, or it's going to be on anything. He just said, like, make 2 smart decisions. You know, you'll have to make 2 smart decisions. And funny enough, if you're out there for that length of time, like, you will have to make decisions. Yeah. And so, you know, try and be, I suppose, aware of your capability. It comes back to your training. Be aware of like your limits. The only way you're going to find out your limits is blowing yourself up. But try and blow yourself up in training. Don't blow yourself up in a $2,000 day out at Ironman, you know. Like, figure out like what your limits are in training, and then try and use those cues to make decisions. Then when you make that decision, then what do you have to do? To back yourself, and you've got to dig deep and try and get the job done.
It's funny, I was just thinking, try to blow up yourself in training, not during the race. Like, when I DNF'd Boulder, I told myself, no big deal, move on. But I didn't realize how much it affected me, because I don't know, first I was really well trained, and 2, you know, put all this effort and time and money into, you know, I had recently bought that bike that you know, fitted for me, and I was like, yeah, I didn't really realize that that DNF affected me, you know, as much as it did. But you know, tons of good learning.
Race days hold you accountable, you know. So I suppose like you're trying to learn lessons from your mistakes in training. You're trying to learn lessons from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
And then on race day, you're trying to execute.
Right.
Race day is not a day for trial and error. Race day is a day for execution.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, again, it goes down to money, your motivators. Like generally, money isn't a healthy motivator, but it can be a serious kick up the ass if it costs you $2,000 to get to a race day.
That's true.
Or you add up all the money that Ironman costs between equipment and training and this and that. Like honestly, I don't want to add up the money. For me, what's more valuable than that is the time away from family or the time that you're given to your hobby, and that's for me always the biggest motivator for me. And that's not because I have plenty of money, but it's like I really no great regard for money. I understand we all need it, and I work hard to earn it and try and earn as much as you can and have a great lifestyle for your kids and like afford them a good education going forward. For me, it's kind of like it comes back to the time, you know, but don't let race day be a test day, you know, test yourself in training and let race day be a day of execution.
Don't worry, the next time I won't be looking at my watch, so I won't have a bike crash.
Yeah.
All right, 5 quick questions.
Quick questions,
with
quick
Mr.
answers.
Ivan. Favorite beer besides Guinness? Go.
Ooh, I would say I like favorite beer besides Guinness. We'll give it to Powder Keg here in Niwot. Come check it out. They do some great beers. Brew them right here in the village.
I don't think I've been there.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah?
It's good.
Any particular one you like?
Hey, everybody likes a nice lager, likes Pilsner.
Yeah.
You know, so I could give it to Heineken, or I could give it to. I'll give you another one. I love the Kona brewing.
Yeah?
Yeah, that does something for me because I guess, you know, it's so associated with the race.
I was
as
just
well,
gonna
like,
say
so
it
like,
tastes like you know, Ironman Hawaii. I love it. So name one person, okay, dead, alive, celebrity, athlete, doesn't matter, you would love to do a bike fit. You haven't done before.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? I don't think about that much. I would say Georgie Best. He's a famous Irish soccer player, played for Man United.
Really?
Georgie Best.
Yeah.
Check him out on YouTube, see some of his moves. He said all the money he made from soccer, and he was one of the most amazing soccer players to play in the Premiership. He said all his money he spent on women and cars and drink.
Yeah.
And the rest he squandered.
That's awesome. All right. So last time that I was here, you know, while you were doing, you were fitting my bike, we were listening to really good tunes. You're big into music, so any favorite artists or, you know, songs that you've been listening to lately? I know it's difficult, right? But
yeah,
again,
there's some great artists out there right now. See, my kids are influencing me now, so we're like anything that they kind of get into as well, but vice versa. We always have a couple of dances after dinner. It's a kind of thing we do. We all sit down for dinner. My wife and I are big into sitting down, having dinner, talking, all that kind of stuff. And we'll get up and we'll say, come on, we'll have a couple of dances after dinner. So we could play like classics from like Madness to Whitney Houston to, we were playing Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan.
Oh, I love
you
Kylie,
know.
yeah.
And then we could go to like Deadmau 5 or
you're into
you
that?
know,
I love
stuff
that.
like
That's
so
awesome.
it can be really varied. I think everyone is overdosing on Ed Sheeran right now, but he's good for, you know, easy kind of music. And yeah, I'll give you my last played top tracks of 2017. Vampire Weekend, Chainsmokers, Arctic Monkeys,
Ooh, those are good.
80s Party, Christmas Kids, and kids' favorites. So lots of kids in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I
we
love
like
it.
mixing it up.
Awesome. Ivan, before we go, tell us more about your new bike fitting studio. Where can people find you?
Sure.
And, you know, online as well, social media as well.
I guess it's my name, like ivanogorman.com. So you'll be able to find that easily enough, hopefully. Based here in Boulder. We do travel a lot. Like I'll go to 8 or 9 international locations or worldwide locations with USA Triathlon this year for races. Off some of those, I do stay and do fit camps. You know, groups often get me to fly to them, and clubs, coaches, stuff like that. So yeah, so you know, the world is kind of a small place now. We get around, but if you ever visit Boulder, be sure to come and check us out.
Yes, please.
If not for a bike fit, come for a coffee, and we'll tell you some stories about these jerseys and this artwork and different things that are here.
Again, I'm just gonna say this again, like, not only because he's just great at what he does, but he just makes you feel so special.
I think that's just an Irish thing, you know. The Irish, like, Céad Míle Fáilte, it's like it's a 1,000 welcomes, you know.
I'm like, I want to have a beer with this guy.
Yeah, Irish people are good at hospitality, and that's something that's close to my heart. And we have a nice home here in Niwata. We have a lot of athletes that come and stay with us, and people that fly in for fits and do different things like that. And I just think it's part of the Irish DNA that you got to look after your guests and look after people.
I love it. So I'm gonna put the links, all things Ivan, here in the video. And thanks again, Ivan.
You bet.
As always,
Pleasure.
a pleasure. Thanks, man.